Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome to tea time. And also happy Earth Day. So that's pretty cool too. I'm actually wearing a shirt that could be related to Earth Day. Let me show you guys. Pretty cool. Got it when I was traveling abroad. I got this one and I got another nature shirt of the moon and the sun. Thought I'd wear this one. So, hey guys, waving back. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome. So I wanted to share with you guys something that I wrote for Toastmasters, and the concept or what I wrote about was acceptance, change, and letting it be. And I was trying to look for the paper yesterday, and I couldn't find it. So I'm taking it as a sign to just go with the flow. And something that kept popping up to share with you guys is a story that I did share in that speech to Toastmasters. So I'm going to be sharing that with you guys right now. And it's a story from when I was living in Vietnam. So happy Thursday. Okay, so yeah, story time. So a story that I shared in this speech, in this speech was when I was living in Vietnam and when my motorbike broke down. And from time to time, that story will pop up in my life, just, thinking about it and pondering on it. And this story to me brings patience. It brings me back to these core things that we all know and that we all have, and sometimes we just forget. And yeah, it just reminds me of patience, of taking some deep breaths. It reminds me of how there's always a solution. Even taking a deep breath and even doing nothing is a solution. It reminds me of also hope. And yeah, I'll share with you guys why. So then and also acceptance. And another thing that also it reminds me of is just how much our own resistance can cause suffering. So yeah, so a year ago, right? Or maybe over a year ago, 2 years ago, I moved to Vietnam. And hey, I moved to Vietnam, and after I took the class, after a couple of months, I was officially settling in. Hey guys! So I'm gonna tell you guys, it's story time, so I'm gonna tell you guys a story from my travels in Vietnam and how this story pops up. And it reminds me of hope and of patience, and it reminds me to take a couple of deep breaths. And it also reminds me how there's always a solution. And I'm just repeating this for the people who are logging in, so hey guys. But yeah, so when I was making the transition, spill the tea. Okay, ready? Okay, so when I was living in Vietnam, I was officially in this state of, or in this transition of settling down. And I got my motorbike and I was learning how to ride a bike around the city and learning how to maneuver the bike in the city. And I had just got hired at a school, and so blessed to have been hired at this place, because not only was I going to be a full-time teacher, I was going to be a full-time primary school teacher, teaching other subjects other than just English. So I was teaching to first grade and second grade, and I was teaching them English, math, science, and computers. So I was super blessed, and I was super excited to start this job and to be excited and to be with little kids, because I love kids. But with this job specifically came a lot of work. So it was a lot of planning your own lessons and figuring out your own lesson plans and how you're going to get the kids to be interactive, and just so much, right, was involved. So in this season, I was settling into my new apartment. I was learning how to ride a bike. I was learning how to be like this teacher. And it was a lot of work and it was stressful. And yeah, so one day, like after school, I was on my way back to work. And on my way back to work, my motorbike stopped at a red light. And also, as I was going back, it started to rain. And in Vietnam, maybe not Vietnam the whole country, but in the city of Hanoi, when it rains and it pours, it really fucking pours. There's lightning, there's thunder, like all the motorbikes go to the side of the road, like under the freeway pass, and wait till it kind of clears out a little bit. And yeah, and you know, there's no sewers, I believe that's what they're called. Yeah, where the water can just go in and goes into the ocean. Like it gets flooded and some people get stuck, like, and so forth, right? So yeah, on my way back to my house, to my apartment, it started to rain and it started to pour. And at a red light, my motorbike just stops. And what city are you talking about? Hanoi, Vietnam. And Oriana says, well, that's amazing. Did you need separate multi-subject credential for working out of the country? Oriana, no, I didn't have any credentials, but I did take a class or a course in Hanoi, in the city of Hanoi, to teach English abroad. And that was like a month. And you can actually take those classes here too online. And some schools, I believe, provide them. And it's called the TESOL. Or TEFL. There's two of them. There's actually a couple of them, but I think I took the TEFL one. I'll send you more information if you want. But yeah, so going back to the story time. So my bike stopped at a red light, and also, again, in Hanoi, in Vietnam, whether it's a yellow light, a red light, a green light, motorbikes are just constantly on the go. So motorbikes are kind of on the go on this green light, or on this red light, but when it turns green, the whole motorbikes or the whole traffic just zooms right forward, go ahead, like just, you know. And I remember it got green, and I remember I got a little nervous, like holy shit, my bike just stopped and all these bikes are just passing and all this stuff, and it's pouring, right? And yeah, so I took a deep breath as I was there on the red light, sitting there on the red light, and I went to the side of the road. And a lot of things came through my mind. My phone was about to die. Like, I was barely learning how to get back home from my work. I was so tired. I just wanted to go home. And I didn't have the right wardrobe, I guess, for that type of season. So I was starting to get super soaked. And I was like, what's going on with my bike? Like, I had heard before where when it rains or when it pours, sometimes the motors get, I don't want to say stuck, but the bikes just stop, you know, and you have to wait a little bit until the motor can cool down and for the motor to just air out. And sometimes if that doesn't happen, then you have to go to a mechanic shop and they have to dry it out and everything. So anyways, like, I went to the side of the road and I was like, okay, crap, like, what do I do? You know, and in that moment, even though I was a little nervous and I was a little scared, there was also this peace and this trust in the background of everything's gonna be alright. And of just trusting that there is a solution, even if it's just sitting here for a little bit and getting grounded. And that's what I did. Like, I went under a tree and I just took a couple of deep breaths. I remember just looking down, I was wearing flats and I was so wet, and I was like, man, a hot shower sounds so good right now. And yeah, so I just stood there and I was watching everybody pass by, and there were some people hanging out under the tree, and this guy came up, this local Vietnamese man, older gentleman came up, and he didn't know English, I didn't know Vietnamese, and hey guys, and through our nonverbal communication and gestures, I kind of told him, like, after looking at my bike, I was like, oh, I think I need gas. And I kind of put my finger on the gas tank. Like, gas? Like, I don't know, right? Because it was empty. And that's another thing that I learned. Like, motorbikes, when it says empty, it really is empty. For some reason, I was thinking that if it's on an empty tank, I still have a couple of miles to go, like a car, but it's not like that at all. And some motorbikes in Vietnam are also tweaked a little bit, so just you can't trust whatever it says on the dashboard. So yeah, non-verbally, I said, hey, like, I think I need gas. And him non-verbally, like, got an empty water bottle. And he was like, okay, like, money. Like, and he did that, and then he opened up his wallet. He brought his wallet out, opened it up, and gave me a signal to also give him money. So I was like, okay, like, I took my money out and I gave him, I think it was like $5. It's super cheap in Vietnam, gas money. So I gave him the money and he just left. And I remember just staying there. I remember just staying there and just hoping that he was gonna come back with a water bottle full of gas. And I waited a couple of minutes, and again, I practiced this whole deep breath, like in and out, and really grounding myself in that feeling that I had before of just trust and of just feeling like everything's gonna be alright. And he ended up coming back. So that was pretty cool. He ended up coming back and he filled my my motorbike with gas, and I was on my way, and I was so grateful of him and so grateful that he came back. He totally came back. And yeah, it was such an experience. And even like when he left, right, I was pondering on, oh man, like a hot shower would be so good right now. I was pondering on, okay, this is part of living abroad. This is part of the adventure that, you know, I'm taking on. This is part of like learning how to ride a motorbike. And there were so many things going on through my mind. And even though I was a little nervous, like I said, and a little scared because it's a new city, my phone was just about to die. Like, I didn't know exactly where I was. Like, I really stood grounded in that trust and in that everything's gonna be alright. And from time to time, I'll think about it, and again, like, it reminds me of how there's always a solution, no matter what. Even staying in your stillness and even taking a couple of deep breaths is part of the solution. Hey guys! I'm waving to all of you guys. Thank you guys for joining me. So I'm sharing a story. You guys can rewind it later. But yeah, like this story, yes, mind over matter, definitely. That's actually something that also pops up when I'm hiking and my body's getting tired. Mind over matter. And yeah, so this story, like, it pops up from time to time, and it just reminds me of those things. And it's really grounding, and I'm just grateful for it, you know? You're so amazing, cousin. I love you. Oh, I love you too, Maxine. Thank you for popping up, guys. But I wanted to share that story. Like I said, I wanted to share a speech that I wrote for Toastmasters about accepting change and letting it be. And this is part of the story that I wrote, where in many situations we have options to either change it if we can, and look for different ways of changing the environment or the situation, or even changing our mind and the way that we look at things. And maybe that'll bring peace, right? And if we can't change anything, maybe there's a way to accept it and accept the moment for what it is. And again, it could be another practice of switching the perspective and looking at it in a different way and accepting what is right in front of us. And the other one is letting it be, where you just let things be. And I guess I can go back to accepting it, but you just let it be. And part of the story was a couple of all of these where I had to accept it. I had to accept that my motorbike died. I had to accept that there was no gas in my motorbike. I had to accept that it was raining and it was pouring and that I was soaked and that my phone was about to die. But I changed the way that I looked at it. Rather than being in this negative perspective or in this negative mindset of, man, like, why did this happen to me? Or, man, like, I totally fucking forgot. And rather than giving myself shit for it, I changed the perspective and tried to look at it in a way where it was part of the adventure that I took on, part of learning how to ride a motorbike, part of learning how to go through the city and so forth. Hey, cousin! So I'm saying hi to you guys. And yeah, and part of it too is just letting it be, right? When the guy left to go get gas, it was that part of, okay, I'm gonna let it be. I'm just gonna be here and stay hopeful and let all of this be. So yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys. If you guys have anything that you guys would love to comment, come on and share whatever you guys want to share. Going back to mind over matter, that popped up a lot when I did my first marathon, my first half marathon, running marathon in Hanoi. And maybe that's another time for a tea time, or another talk for a tea time. But the last couple of miles, my body was so tired and I was like, okay, mind over matter, I can do this. Yes, with acceptance, we can lose the expectations, setting us up for disappointment. Yeah, and that's practice too, right? Like letting go of the expectations. Because you're right, our expectations lead us to disappointment. If it doesn't happen, then boom, we get disappointed. But yeah, so thank you guys for commenting, for sharing, for joining. Like I said, I just really wanted to share this story, and I hope it gives you guys some kind of different perspective or some hope or some other practice, whatever it could be. And today is Earth Day, so I do want to end with a quote from Eckhart Tolle. I say Eckhart Tolle. I heard there's another way to say it and I totally forgot. Mind fart. But there's another way to say his name, but I say Eckhart Tolle. So I'm gonna share this with you guys, and this is from his book called Stillness Speaks, if you guys have heard from his book or from this chapter. And actually it's chapter 7. So yeah. And woohoo, happy Earth Day. Heck yeah, yes it is. Daily practice indeed. Yeah. I've been trying to stay more on my practice. Even if I don't want to do it, like just practice. Okay, so this is from his book again. Let me see. Stillness Speaks. And this is from chapter 7. By Eckhart. So. And I, to be honest, I want to read the whole thing, but I won't. Okay, so this is how it goes. We depend on nature not only for our physical survival. We also need nature to show us the way home, the way out of the prison of our own minds. We got lost in doing, thinking, remembering, anticipating, lost in a maze of complexity and a world of problems. We have forgotten what rocks, plants, and animals still know. We have forgotten how to be still, to be ourselves, to be where life is, here and now. Wherever you bring your attention to anything natural, anything that has come into existence without human intervention, you step out of the prison of conceptualized thinking and to some extent participate in the state of connectedness with being in which everything natural still exists. To bring your attention to a stone, a tree, or an animal does not mean to think about it, but simply to perceive it, to hold it in your awareness. So this is part of it, and there's more to it. So if you want me to send this to you, just let me know. I can send you the whole chapter. But yeah, remember today, guys, to just take a couple of deep breaths in. That's something that huge that I remember from this story, to just slow down and take a couple of deep breaths. And just doing that is a solution itself. And it goes back to what I was just sharing from the chapter from this book of being in stillness. So yeah, much love, guys. I hope you guys have a beautiful Thursday and a beautiful weekend. Thank you for popping up.